Hey gang, Scott here. Welcome to InPost and thanks for joining me. This video, it's about the Humble Crop Tool. A very common tool, very basic tool. We kind of all know how to use it, yet it's still very important in our photo workflow. I'd had some questions recently about cropping and deciding how much is too much of a crop or what's not enough of a crop. And I was working on this photo that I shared during in the field, if you watched that earlier this week, of this scene of these hoodoos and Moss Cave trail in Utah, just outside. Well, I guess it's technically part of Bryce Canyon, but I was working on the crop of this, and it made me realize a couple of things I was doing while I was cropping. I thought I'd put it into a video and share it with you. So let's talk about the crop on this particular photo. I'll press the R key here in Lightroom to get the crop, and you can see I've done some cropping here, and there's this interesting bowing going on at the bottom. I did a little bit of a transform because I was shooting upward at these hoodoos. But the thing about the crop, and let me press the L key once just to hide some of that interface. We can still see it's out there, but really focusing our attention on the photo. This is the subject. It's the hoodoos, right? This is why I stopped and took the photo, and everything else is contextual. So when I was doing the crop, I want to make sure that my subject is, where it needs to be, high in the frame, because these are towering over you as you walk through, but balanced. This is an upper third, this is a lower third, and as I was adjusting things around, I could get tighter and could crunch in here, and I could change the aspect ratio. But something I want to make sure is I give enough breathing room for my subject at the sides, as well as checking the borders. Let me undo a couple of those things that I did there. So I think this is about where I had settled. And I want to point out two things here. First, I mentioned about breathing room for my subject. Most of the time, I want the subject to have a little space, to have a little room to work with in the frame. There's always exceptions. You may have a photo where you want a cramped, tight, compressed feeling, and you might crop very tightly. And the second is the border patrol, as I call it. So first, I was happy with the space here, and then my eyes will skim around the borders of the photo. And I'm looking for things like this down here in the lower right corner. These little twigs and things like that that are sticking out there. And you have a choice. You can either, ideally, if you can just crop them away, wonderful. And in this case, I could probably get to about here, and then I start to lose my breathing room. So I chose to keep it backed off a little bit. And the reason for that is you can start to drive yourself nuts trying to get rid of all these little things on the borders, especially with a landscape where you've got trees and all sorts of things just coming in from all sides. Or you can focus on your subject, get your subject the way you want it with the breathing room, and then use other tools to tidy up things on the border. And that's really where I'm going with this next, is if I zoom in down here to these little pieces, this is light work for a retouching tool. In this case, I can use the content aware here in Lightroom to start to drag over these twigs a bit, and keeping in mind that there are pixels outside here, so it may pick up some other things. That was a pretty nice and clean removal. But sometimes, because you've cropped and there's other pixels like this one, it left something behind, no problem. Hit it again, and so on down the line. So I guess that's really kind of what I wanted to give you for the takeaways for crop, is know what you want to do with your subject. You should know the subject of your photo when you take it. Something caught your eye, that's the subject of your photo. And either give it the breathing room it needs or compress, but think about your subject first. Then sweep around and look at the border. And if you can't compromise with easily cropping something away that's distracting at the border, use some of your retouching and other content-aware tools that you have in Lightroom, On1, Luminar, Photoshop, whatever you're using to clean those things up. That's all I got for today. Hope you enjoyed the video. Anything else, drop questions below. And until next time, my name's Scott Davenport. Have fun.